Thank you, Holly. Thank you all for being here. This is great. I had to drive in from Omaha this morning. I'm not going to make that mistake again because apparently all the fun happened last night. Michael and Angela have a hot tub story already, and that so good for you guys. I'm a very different speaker than the people you've heard. I'm a big guy. I'm very comfortable on stage, but I'm a little intimidated listening to all of the people before me and how inspiring and incredible they are, and I get up here knowing that you're not going to learn a damn thing from me. I have audience members come up to me afterwards and say, Kris, we loved your show, but we feel a little dumber for having listened to it. And that warms my heart. That brings it full circle. I'm so happy to be in a room with people. You don't understand how happy this makes me. I've been doing virtual Zoom shows. I've got a brick background in my basement, a nice camera set up. But Zoom shows are very strange because you have no feedback. And so on one hand, it's frustrating. You don't know if they're laughing. But on the other hand, it's liberating because if a joke bombs, I will never know. And I just don't care. But I miss traveling. But not everywhere. I traveled to a place last year it was my third or fourth time there. And every time I go, I hate it. It's called Los Angeles. And I realized that we're virtual. Anybody could be watching. And I maybe just cut out an entire market. Sorry, Angela. But and it's because of the people. I was talking to this woman, and the stereotypes that people in Southern California have about the Midwest will shock you. I was standing outside. I'm talking to this woman on the street. Now, I'm going to say a bad word. I don't swear much in my act, so fair warning. She was a vegan. And so I began talking to this woman, and she was very, very beautiful, but she was very, very dumb. And she said, wow, you're really tall. Where are you from? I said, I'm from Nebraska. She said, is everybody that tall in Nebraska? Well, I'm a comic, so I said, well, yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, we are. We have to be this tall to get the corn off the top of the stalks. She looked up at me dead serious and went, oh, that makes sense. She said, do you live on a farm? Well, I'm all in now. I said, of course I do, ma'am. You're very worldly. She says, do you have any animals? And I said, yes, we have a cow. And then I explained to her that every family in the Midwest has a cow. I told her we go out in the spring, we pick out a calf, we bring it home, we raise it, we name it, the kids play with it, and then in the fall, we slaughter it, and that's what we eat the rest of the year. She was mortified. She's trembling at this point. She says, you name it? I said, oh, yeah. If you think free-range beef tastes good, you've got to try pet. So much better. So much better. I am tall. It's hard to tell for the folks at home, but I am tall. I'm 6'8", and tall is good. Like 6'3", 6'4", that's a good height. At 6'8", you're a freak. You are. And when you're freakishly tall, random strangers feel compelled to walk up to you and ask you stupid questions about it. I had a guy the other day ask me something I'd never been asked. He threw me off my game. He said, how tall are you? I said, I'm 6'8". And he goes, how tall is your wife? What? What a bizarre question to ask somebody. What do you care? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. So I said, as a matter of fact, my husband is 5'11". You know who hates that joke? My wife. She doesn't like that one at all. But it threw me off my game because everywhere I go, I'm used to the big three, right? Same three things everywhere I go, all over the country. Wow, you're a tall drink of water. How tall are you? 6'5", 6'6"? And of course, do you play basketball? And if you think about it, tall people are the only kind of freak you can treat like that, right? I can't get on an elevator with a great big fat guy and just go, wow, you're a big old tankard full of water. Like, how fat are you? 450, 460? Do you play tug of war? No, that's out of bounds. That's rude. How fat's your wife? Right? You can't. That is not okay. You can't do it. And I didn't play basketball, which is a constant source of disappointment to strangers. It is. I had a lady one time go, oh, what a waste, right? That was my mom. So that's so I grew up. Now, here's maybe the strangest conversation I've ever had about being tall. I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing some shows because, well, all my dreams are coming true. And I get done with my shows. I go have a beer at the bar. A woman walks up, turns to me. I'm sitting down. She goes, what are you, about 6'8"? Yeah, it's a really good guess. I'm sitting down. Dead serious, she says, you should buy a coffin. What the? Why, crazy lady? She was trying to be helpful. She explained to me that she had a boyfriend who was 6'8", and he died suddenly, and they didn't have a chance to order him an extra large coffin. So they cut him off at the shins to shove him in a regular box. So I'm flying home, and I'm thinking about that because you don't forget something like that. And I come up with this way better idea. I walk in the door and I say to my wife, honey, when I die, I don't want an extra large coffin. And my wife says, why? I said, because I have a way better idea. I want a regular coffin with 2 holes cut in the end of it so my feet can stick out. She goes, why on earth do you want that? I said, because that's funny. People are coming up at the funeral. I got my feet sticking out of the end of the box. I said, I'm a comedian. I don't want people to be sad at my funeral. And my wife, who I adore, says, what makes you think people are going to be sad at your funeral? Yeah, no. Don't feel sorry for her or me. We have that kind of relationship. Here's a joke she hates. We got done having kids, and she asked me if I'd consider having a vasectomy. I said, well, I'd consider it, but it seems kind of selfish. Like, I don't know if my next wife wants kids, right? I mean, I can text her. She loves that one, too. That's one of her favorites. We've been married a long time. We got a couple of kids, and it's nice to be out of the house because they are there all the time. They've been homeschooling now for going on 8 years, it feels, and I'm not a good homeschool teacher. Do not let a comic homeschool your kids if you have that option. My second grader last spring comes up to me, very bright in math, don't know where he gets it, and he said, Dad, I'm going to go upstairs and do my homework. He was adding and subtracting 3-digit numbers. And I know he can do that in his head, but I said, you got to show your work, buddy. He says, okay. He goes upstairs. 10 minutes later, he comes down. He says, can you check my work? The first one's all written out. The second one just has the answers. And I said, Finn, because that's his name. I said, Finn, did you do these in your head? And he got a weird look on his face, and he said, well, kind of. And from the other room, I hear my wife go, you've got to be kidding me. It's like, what? She comes over with her phone and shows us the Alexa history from his bedroom, where he simply asked Alexa every single one of his questions and wrote them down. I was like, I'm not even going to punish you. That's smart. You know, we didn't tell you couldn't do that. That's not cheating. That's not cheating at all. Now, it's fun with these kids. I'm not tough. They're so mean. I've got 2 teenage girls who subject me to emotional violence every single day. And then this little guy who just sits around and thinks of new and interesting ways to punch me in the groin. That's what he does. He just sits around and maps it out. And I'm not tough. Don't be fooled by my size. I'm not a tough guy. Went to Target recently. Was pulling in, and there's a woman getting into her car. I'm waiting on her spot. It's a really good spot. While I'm waiting, this guy in a big truck, totally impatient, leans out the window and yells at me, hey, move your car, jerk. I was like, dude, chill out. This is the Target parking lot. That's Walmart behavior. I take that up the road. And I'm like, no, you know what? Today I'm going to stick up for myself. And I said, look, buddy, chill out. You'll get out of here in 30 seconds, get home in plenty of time to watch the fishing channel, you redneck. And you know what he said? Nothing. Because I never rolled down my window. Because I am not tough. Not tough at all. No, I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to teach these kids things. I'm trying not to say the dumb things that my parents said to me as a kid. And it's funny. We'll get in a situation, and something my mom told me will pop into my head, and I have to actively quash it. For example, I don't see anybody, I think everybody in this room will know the answer to this question. It's fun when I have like a teenager and I ask them. But go ahead and just shout it out. What's the number one reason to wear clean underwear? In case you're in a car accident, sure. Yeah, you ask a 20-year-old that, and they just stare at you. They're like, because you should have clean underwear? I'm like, no, it's because you could get into a car accident. And it was years later I realized that was nonsense. The thought process behind that of you need to have clean underwear because you could be in a car accident and be so horrifically maimed that they have to cut your pants off at the emergency room, and God forbid a trauma nurse see a skid mark, right? Because somehow that would reflect poorly on my mother as a parent. And so I've got to actively stop myself from doing this, and there's gestures we use that my kids don't get, right? A few minutes ago, I did this. Everyone in this room knows what this means. It means roll down the window. Not my kids. They have no idea. They're growing up in a power window, push-button world. But that gesture doesn't update. Can't walk up to a woman in a car and just go. That's how you get maced. That's what happens there. I'm going to tell you a secret about tall people. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you guys are really nice, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to share this secret with you. When we come over to your houses, we look on top of your refrigerators. We do. We don't mean to. It's just eye level, and you people are filthy. You need to get up there every now and again and clean that off. We had some new neighbors move in a few years ago. I'm down meeting them for the first time. We're in the kitchen. It's going great. I look over, big layer of dust, but I don't say anything, right? Just getting to know him. Night goes on, he has a few beers, starts to get a little lippy, and he makes a comment about how maybe I don't mow my yard often enough. I'd had a few drinks myself, kind of blurted out, well, it's hard to keep up with the yard work when I spend all my time cleaning the top of the refrigerator, which some people never bother to do. Then it got a little weird. Fast forward 3 weeks, he's having a big party at his house. I'm staying in his kitchen, I'm drinking a beer, I look over, and on top of his refrigerator is the same layer of dust, but sitting on top of that was a single piece of paper with a photocopied middle finger on it. Just for me. It was just for me. It was the most thoughtful thing anyone has ever done for me. All right, that's a little, I'm gonna wrap that up on the comedy side. That's a little bit about my jokes. I talk about my kids, I talk about being married, I talk about being tall. But if you are looking for entertainment instead of somebody who's gonna change your life, I'm your guy. And my show is usually 45 to 60 minutes. I can customize that up or down. I will work with, if it's a company, which about 80% of my shows are for industry associations, company Christmas parties, things like that. I will customize it to the extent it's not weird. Like, I'm not gonna be up there writing a bunch of jokes like, oh, Sharon loves brownies, because then it's weird. But I did a show recently that was great. It was a hospital association, and they sent me a bunch of pictures of their employees doing just random crazy things. And then for the last 15 minutes of my set, I just showed these pictures and roasted them. It was all in good fun, but it was a blast. If you do hire me, the more you give me, the more I'll give you. And then finally, I do want to plug one other show I do, which is related to comedy, but it's very different. I do comedy trivia. And this isn't just me standing up there asking questions and then people trying to guess the answer. I bring the entire setup. It's very multimedia. AV, I handle the scores. I handle everything but the prizes. It's hosted by either myself or another award-winning comic, so that's what brings the energy and the fun to the room. Customizable, it can be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depends on what your event is, and people love it. I get great feedback from that. Oftentimes, someone will come up to me afterwards and say, yeah, I don't really like trivia, but I had a really good time. And I'm like, really, how'd you do? Oh, dead last. Yeah, we were terrible. We got smoked. So thank you again. Thank you to Angela and everybody at the Speakers Bureau. Thank you for all for coming. Thank you for tuning in at home. And now you get released to your break, right? Hooray.